Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second part of the talk that I began last Sunday. My play is done. This, of course, is reference to a very beautiful poem that Swami Vivekananda wrote in New York on March 16th in 1895. Now, the significance of the date is not something to be overlooked, because when we read the poem, it sounds as if it's something he should have written in 1900 or 1901. It's kind of a farewell poem that I've finished my work and I'm ready to leave the stage and go back to my real home. But he wrote it quite early, before he had all of the experiences in Kashmir and felt that he was no longer the actor. The Divine Mother was doing everything, that he had accomplished what he was to do, all of that. So it's quite early. So we get the impression that it's not simply the result that he felt that his mission was accomplished and his work was done. It was before the summer in Thousand Island Park, even, when he did so much work and he had much to accomplish. This was really right in the middle of the work he was doing in the West on his first trip, not to speak of going back again for a second trip. So there is some special significance to that, and I think it indicates to us that this idea that everything is a play and that I'm ready to exit this is not something that is just at the very end of life, that this is some realization that can come to all of us, that there's something a little bit unreal about all of this. Not in a metaphysical sense, but in the sense that, yes, I feel somehow I'm in the middle of a play and I'm just an actor in the play. This type of attitude. So as I say, it doesn't feel that this should be the exact date, that it could have been after the trip to Kashmir in 1897 with the experience in Amarnath and Kir Bhavani. And we know that after he wrote this poem, how much work that he did. And he went back to India and founded the Ramakrishna Mission, Madin Mission, in 1897. So we'll see that there is a kind of universal application, and this is a spiritual attitude that we can have also. Take this attitude that this is a play, that whether it's a comedy or a drama, it depends. At different times it can be different things. Anyhow, let me start by reading the poem that Swamiji wrote with the title, My Play is Done. Ever rising, ever falling with the waves of time, still rolling on I go from fleeting scene to scene ephemeral, with life's currents ebb and flow. Oh, I am sick of this unending force. These shows, they please no more. This ever running, never reaching, nor even a distant glimpse of shore. From life to life, I'm waiting at the gates. Alas, they open not. Dim are my eyes with vain attempt to catch one ray long sought. On life's little high narrow bridge I stand and see below the struggling, crying, laughing throng. For what? No one can know. In front yon gates stand frowning dark and say, no farther, away. This is the limit, tempt not fate, bear it as best you may. Go mix with them and drink this cup and be as mad as they. Who dares to know but comes to grief, stop them and with them stay. Alas for me, I cannot rest, this floating bubble earth, its hollow form, its hollow name, its hollow death and birth, for me is nothing. How I long to get beyond the crust of name and form. Ah, open the gates, to me they open must. Open the gates of light, O Mother, to me thy tired son. I long, O long, to return home. Mother, my play is done. You sent me out in the dark to play and wore a frightful mask. Then hope departed, terror came, and play became a task. Tossed to and fro from wave to wave in the seething, surging sea of passion strong and sorrows deep, grief is and joy to be. where life is living death, alas, and death. Who knows, but 'tis another start, another round of this old wheel of grief and bliss. Where children dream bright golden dreams, too soon to find them dust, and I look back to hope long lost, and life a mass of rust. Too late the knowledge age doth gain, scans from the wheel were gone, when fresh young lives put their strength to the wheel, which thus goes on, from day to day and year to year. 'Tis but delusion's toy, false hope its motor, desire knave, its spokes are grief and joy. I go adrift and know not whither, save me from this fire. Rescue me, merciful Mother, from floating with desire. Turn not to me thy awful face, 'tis more than I can bear. Be merciful and kind to me, to chide my faults forbear. Take me, O Mother, to those shores where strifes forever cease, beyond all sorrows, beyond tears, beyond even heavenly bliss, whose glory neither sun nor moon nor stars that twinkle bright, nor flash of lightning can express, they but reflect its light. Let nevermore delusive dreams veil off thy face from me. My play is done, O Mother, break my chains and make me free. One of the important themes, aside from the very personal nature of this, but one of the important themes in this poem is this idea of lila, of looking at this world as a kind of play. And I want to emphasize with all of this that we're not trying to give a scientific explanation for the universe, how it comes into being. This is a very particular spiritual attitude, and it can be a very helpful type of attitude. We don't have to question the nature of it with regard to, is it verifiable, is it logical? It'll be something a little bit mystical. We have to take it that way. And the whole idea is that this world was created in play, as a play. In play, because it's the author of the play who will enjoy the play, and who actually play all of the parts even in the play. And it's not to be taken too seriously. So both of these ideas are contained within this concept of lila. And as we see here, very often associated with this divine play of Mother, of the Divine Mother, that she is the one who has created this world in play. Of course, it comes in other traditions as well, but with Sri Ramakrishna and with Swamiji here, this is really my mother, my play is done. So we get this idea that somehow the Lord has a little bit of a mischievous streak. There's something that we shouldn't take too serious here, and decided to create this universe as his or her, and more fittingly, as her own little playhouse, to put on a little show, and to use all of us as actors, even though the Divine Mother herself is really the actor in all of it. But with this veil of Maya, we all feel that, that we're actors. The punchline is that really it's the Divine Mother who is doing everything. In a puppet show, it's the puppeteer who is pulling the strings, or whose hand is inside the puppet, that there's no separate existence to the puppet at all. But even that, the veil of Maya has to come in order for this play to go on. So we can look at this world as something fascinating, something even joyful, if we see it as a kind of play. We can recognize it for what it is. And that's really the only way that we can get a little distance from it. We can be acting in it and enjoying the play at the same time, as if we're the actor and the audience as well. And we can become experts in playing our role here. Thakur talks about those who are expert at playing dice. They can shake the dice and whatever they call, give me a 6 and they'll get a 6, give me an 8, they'll get an 8, like that. They never make a bad play. Now, sometimes we know that this play that we're in is a kind of nightmare, and that it can be unbearable from a very personal level, that people do suffer within it, And you may remember that there's one conversation in the Gospel where Sri Ramakrishna is talking about the world being a type of play, and then someone says, but for us it's death. It's a type of death. Then Thakur says, but who are you? That means part of the play is that it's the Divine Mother herself, that we're only actors, we're not the real ones who are suffering. But it doesn't necessarily help. When the suffering comes, it's like that. Or, and this is what we get in the Swamiji's poem, we can look at it as a type of bondage. We feel the weight of it. That, okay, you want us to put on this little play for you? We've been doing it, but how long can we do it? We're ready for the play to be over. We want to take off these costumes and this makeup and this false front that we have, and we want to go back to who we really are. So we find that in the beginning, and for most people it's the whole lifetime, that there's a little fun to it. It's a big mixture, of course, a big mixture, but there's a little fun to it, and we get wrapped up in the game and everything is okay. Then we get older and it starts to cloy a little bit. It starts to lose its joy, and then it becomes a little bit of a bad joke for us. That like we find we wait all year to go on vacation. We can't wait to go on vacation. We take a plane, we go to some beautiful island resort. And day after day we go and we sit on the beach, and then after a while we realize, yeah, that now I'm getting a little sunburn, the food is too rich, I go back and there's sand in the bed, and it's not exactly what I wanted. And we have this desire, let it end, let me go back home. That now all I really want, a good night's sleep in my own bed. I don't need any special things, I just want to go back home. So the idea of somehow getting out of all of this. So this is where this vairagya comes in. That there's a desire to get out. There's desire that, okay, there was a little bit fun at some point, but now I want to get out. This desire for liberation, this longing for liberation, which we know is mukshutva, or this vyakulata, one of the key elements in Thakur's teachings and in Vedanta in general, this striving for realization. And this comes in the lives of many people. For those who take the monastic life, sometimes it comes very early in life. That all of these dreams that other people have, they seem hollow. This desire to have family and to have a career and make a lot of money and name and fame. Sometimes we observe other people, and we see how, with such tremendous hope and desire, they started at life, and how things didn't turn out exactly the way, because their desires were too strong, that their expectations were unrealistic. So for some, it comes early, and they give up everything. These are those who become monks at a young age. This is the sense that we get from Swamiji's poem, My Play is Done. Remember, how old was he then? 32, 33? Just past his 33rd birthday. Very young man at that time. He's writing like he's a 95-year-old man. That, I've gone through so much in this lifetime, I'm weary, I'm ready to give up. He was a young man. Of course, what he did in his lifetime was the equivalent of many lifetimes, but still. And then there's the sense that the player has seen through the game, or simply gotten tired of the game, and has stepped aside and wants to watch from the outside. So this idea, my play is done, it doesn't mean I want to depart from this world. It means, let me at least get outside, let me go and sit in the audience and watch. That I don't have to be an actor, I don't have to be an active participant in it anymore. Sri Ramakrishna used to refer to himself and those who renounce the world in those terms. He used to give the example of a particular card game. I don't know all the details, but they deal the cards out and you add up the face value of the numbers. If it's over a certain number, then you've lost the game and you're out of the game. So he used to joke with Keshav and others that I've already gotten too high a number. I'm out of the game. But for him, it was enjoyable. It was preferable for him to sit outside and watch, and not participate. We get this in some of Swamiji's other letters also. A spectator, not an actor. Now just a spectator. So he used to jokingly say that you're the clever ones. Of course, they weren't the clever ones, but you're the clever ones. You're still playing the game. Enjoy the game, as long as you like to. Enjoy it. When you get tired of it, then you'll be thankful that you got tired of it. But I'm out of the game, as if you should feel sorry for me. But we know that he didn't mean it that way. So I want to look at this conception of the world as a play first from the creation point of view. And let me repeat again, this is not a scientific doctrine or even a real philosophical type of doctrine. There is no scientific doctrine that can explain this visible universe that we see. I remember reading a quote, I don't know the quote exactly, but I know the gist of it, from Einstein. He was talking about this Big Bang theory. Now somebody will say, no, we know how the world came, that there was a Big Bang, and that before that everything was just in some unified state, and from that everything, all of creation started. So Einstein said, we may know all of that, still we have no idea where any of this came from. Huh? This is just a way of explaining that, okay, there was some massive potential energy that was unmanifest, and for some reason it became manifest. Where did that come from? What is the ground for that? So he said that that's mysticism. That's something that goes beyond the range of science or philosophy. That's something that remains a bit of a mystery, that beyond the realm of mind and thought and speech, all of that. So, from a philosophical point of view, this idea of Leela comes a little bit from the deficiencies in some of the other philosophical positions. Now, I want to start with the Advaitins. We start out with this idea that Brahman is the sole reality, so there can be no other source for the universe except Brahman. Either that, or we say there is no universe. Okay, now if we say there is no universe, then we might as well go back to bed. There's not too much to talk about after that. If we say that this universe that we see is not really what it is, then we can say, okay, where did this delusive, illusory universe come from? There has to be some way to explain why there's something and not nothing at all. Why not simply Nirguna Brahman? Huh? Why isn't it always Pralaya? Why isn't it always an absolute absence of existence? Even if this is mithya, still, there's a falseness of what? Of this visible universe that we see. So they're stuck a little bit. So what did they do? They have to say that either it's a projection out of Brahman. So this brings in this idea that Brahman has to have some Shakti. Which means that it's not only Nirguna, it's Saguna. Or a false reading of Brahman. Then we have to bring in the idea of Maya. And where does this Maya come from? Does it belong to Brahman? Is it a second thing? So we run into all these different types of difficulties. And then this Maya comes in and gets converted a little bit into something personal, and into this idea of the Divine Mother, and into this idea of Shakti, of power. That there is a power that belongs to Brahman that can project this universe. But why and how? Why and how? Well, what's the reason for it? And why does it take this particular form? Leela? Is just a play, it's sport. There's no good explanation for it. No logical reason why the world is the way that it is, why it couldn't have been something different. There's no logical reason. We may say once it started, then karma comes in, cause and effect, that we ourselves make a mess of things, that the Darwinian concepts, all of that. But initially, why did it start out that way? Now the dualists, they have a problem also, because if they say that God is a personal God, then the question is always asked that this God has to be Purna, it has to be full, it has to be perfect, Aptakama. It can't have any desires for anything. To create means there's some desire means there's some feeling of lack. So they also have a little bit of difficulty there. So they also can bring in this idea that, well, it was just for fun. No real reason. Don't look for any special reason. Just for fun. The non-dualists also do something like that. We read in the Taittiriya Upanishad, I think Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also, that as if Brahman is sitting around bored, looking around, doesn't see anything, and says, Bahusyama, may I become many? And then little by little projects different things, and the elements, and they come into being, and then there's a whole universe. Or we have the idea that it's just in the nature of Brahman, like a spider, the web comes out, the string comes out, it forms a web, then it goes, lives there. Everything else gets caught in the web, except the spider can move about freely. It has some special something on its, what do they have, legs, spider legs, that is not susceptible to the stickiness of the web, whereas all the insects and everything, as soon as they touch it, they're caught. So this is it looks like a nice, beautiful thing, but we get caught in that also. So the dualists, and to some extent the non-dualists, they bring in this idea of Leela because there's no logical explanation for why Brahman or the personal God would want to create a universe, especially this particular universe. You remember when Swamiji once made that great statement, as a boy, he was still Narendra, that what did he say exactly? The plan of this universe is devilish. I could have created a better universe. Yeah, we don't know if we could have done a better one, but I don't know if we could have done a worse one. Sometimes I wonder about that also. So, we say that the nature of God is a Kavi. Kavi is one of the names of God. It is used very often in the Upanishads and other scriptures. It means a poet, but it also means a wise person. But this personal God has a little bit of a poetic streak. Wants to make a beautiful play with all twists and turns and plot changes and everything. So this is what we get. So this gives us this other sense of play, that it was created in play for the fun of the Lord. And the Lord is watching, the Lord is participating, and once the Lord enters into each and every individual, then, like in a dream, he or she forgets himself or herself, and then we all think that we're like the actor who forgets that he's an actor and identifies so much with the role that other people also, we all feel that this is really happening in truth. You remember a very interesting incident. I think it was Vidyasagar who was attending a play that Girish Ghosh wrote. And Girish was the main actor. And he was playing the role, I don't remember, some demon or some sort of very wicked person. And this Vidyasagar, if I have the story right, got so involved with the whole thing and thought this was such a horrible person that he took off his shoe and threw it at him, a tremendous insult. You remember some years ago, one reporter in Iraq threw his shoe at President Bush. Nobody understood it, but a tremendous insult in many countries like that. And what did Girish do? He picked up the boot and he touched it to his head and he bowed down and he took it as the sign, greatest tribute to an actor, that someone would so buy into the role of acting that he would feel that real emotion towards the person, forgetting that there's an actor there. So this is what happens, that this acting job is so good that the Divine Mother herself, who was the writer, the producer, and the actor, forgets that she herself is the actor, and we also all forget. Sri Ramakrishna likes to talk of the Divine Mother also as a childlike nature. And this childlike nature will be, he gives different examples, that they have no attachment to anything, that they may build a little dollhouse or some place for their toys, and then the next minute they'll break them and smash them. They'll go to the beach and they'll make sand castles. As soon as they're done, what do they like to do? They like to smash the whole thing down. It goes back to sand. He says sometimes there'll be tremendous attachment. They'll have an ordinary cloth. Somebody comes and says, "Oh, a beautiful shawl, can I have it?" They say, "No, my daddy gave it to me, you can't have it." And then someone else will walk by, they'll simply throw it to them without even asking. No attachment to anything. So the Lord creates the universe, Divine Mother, creates them, destroys them, and just in fun, gives liberation to some and not to others, keeps others bound by Maya, just for fun. Now we may wonder what type of fun. We can also say, but it's death to us. But anyhow, Sri Ramakrishna used to speak in these terms. And can I say for sure that he didn't take this as a very good explanation for things? I don't know. But to me, I like to look upon this as a spiritual attitude, because Thakur emphasized attitude over truth. He never talked about something this theory is true. The only truth is Brahman itself, is reality and experience. Everything else is a spiritual attitude. Jaman bhav ten milab, one of his favorite expressions. That we gain in accordance to the feeling that we have. If it's 100% true, if it's 50% true, these are, unless it's something unrealistic and false, but if it's a very helpful spiritual attitude, then we shouldn't even ask too many of these questions. There's a very interesting conversation that took place between Sri Ramakrishna and Keshav Sen and the Brahmo devotees. This is found in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna on page 136. And Sri Ramakrishna was talking about Mother Kali. Bondage and liberation are both of her making. By her, see, other times he'll say bondage and liberation are all of the question of the mind. That's also true, and it's also a good spiritual attitude. That's why I say we shouldn't take this as, Thakur said that this is the explanation. No, to a certain type of person with a certain attitude at a certain time, this is a very nice way of looking at it. Bondage and liberation are both of her making. By her Maya, worldly people become entangled in lust and greed, and again, through her grace, they attain liberation. Then he sang a beautiful song by Ram Prasad. This is that song, Urache Guri, Mother, you're flying kites. And comparing this Leela, this play, to this game of flight kite flying, where what they do is they put some type of paste on the string of the kite, something very coarse, a little ground up glass or things like that, and they put their kites all up, and they try to get one kite to go back and forth against the string of another and cut through it, and then that kite flies away and that person's lost. And the person who can get rid of all of the other kites and bring his own kite down is the winner. There's a very interesting novel that was written and movie, I think, called The Kite Flyer. It's about Afghanistan. This must be a tradition that came into India from Central Asia. But they also do it in India. Now, the interesting thing is that according to the game, the one who keeps the string and keeps the kite can bring it back is the winner. According to the song, the winner is the one who gets the string cut and the kite goes free. That represents liberation. So this is what Thakur is saying, that, and according to the song, at best but one or two kites will break free, and Mother laughs and claps her hands. She enjoys it. Now look, she's the one who bound us to the kite in the first place. She's the one who put this veil of Maya over us. She's the one who's happy to keep the play going, but she's happiest when we can break free and get loose. So this is that funny play of the Divine Mother. So the song says, out of 100,000 kites, at best but one or two break free, and thou dost laugh and clap thy hands, O Mother, watching them. When favoring winds, says Ram Prasad, the kite set loose will speedily be borne away to the infinite across the sea of the world. So these are the ones who are really saved. Then he also says, the Divine Mother is always playful and sportive. This universe is her play. She is self-willed and must always have her own way. She is full of bliss. She gives freedom to one out of 100,000. The same thing we read in Gita and other texts. Then the Brahmo devotee says, but sir, if she likes, she can give freedom to all. Why then has she kept us bound to the world? Okay, it sounds like a very good question. And then Thakur says, that is her sweet will. Now this means that don't look for any very logical reason for it. That is her sweet will. I don't know what the original Bengali is, but she wants to continue playing with her creatures. Then he asked them if they know this game, something like our game of hide and seek. This is a game where someone plays the part of the granny. And so all of the other children, they put a blindfold over their eyes, and they just grope about, and they try to touch the granny. If they touch the granny, they can take the blindfold off, and then they can simply watch the other kids run around and everything. So it's a lot of fun for them. Now the granny, she may be very tricky. She may move out of the way a little bit. She may make it difficult. She doesn't want all of them to touch her, because then the game is over. So this is what Thakur says, that all the fun comes to an end if all touch the granny. That means everyone gets liberation. If all touch her, then how can the game go on? That displeases her. Her pleasure is in continuing the game. So she wants to see all of the beautiful kites up there flying around. Everyone thinking that attachment is the one who they remain attached to the kite are the winners, not knowing that the ones who become detached and can fly off are the real winners. Now, do we want to take this literally? It is up to us. We don't have to bother too much. So this was Thakur's attitude. He very often spoke in this way, and he used to sing the song, all creation is the sport of my mad mother Kali. And this was very consistent with his spiritual attitude. He liked what he called the Shantan Bhab, the attitude of a child looking upon God as the child's very own mother. And he'll give different illustrations with a child at play. And these are all beautiful illustrations. He says that, look, a very small child is outside, and the child has some little toys and is busy playing with the toys. The mother is inside cooking. And the mother is very happy. She knows that my child is outside and enjoying the fun and games, maybe just by himself or herself or with friends and everything. But the moment that this child gets tired of it all and throws them away and starts crying and screaming for the mother, she drops everything. In the middle of her cooking, she drops everything. She comes out, she takes the child in her arms, and she consoles the child, and then the child is happy after that. So there are different ways of expressing this feeling of the play-like character of the world. We see in the life of Sri Ramakrishna that it was more enjoy the play. We see in the life of Swami Vivekananda, especially according to this poem, it's more this idea that, let me get out. I have this longing to get free. I don't like the string attached to me. I want to soar. I want to go into that infinite, absolute reality. We see this in that very first song he sang to Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineswar, Mono Cholo Nijo Niketone. This, let us go back once more, O mind, to our own abode, here in this foreign land of earth. So this idea of alienation, that this isn't who we really are. In this foreign land of earth, why should we wander aimlessly in a stranger's guide? This is what I call a type of existential alienation. Usually we think, children are alienated, that they don't fit into this group or that group, but this means we don't fit in anywhere, that we don't feel that we belong to this world, that somehow we've been sent out to play, and we don't know who these other people are, where we are. It's something that it doesn't appeal to us, that we know that we have our own place somewhere. We want to go back to that we've been exiled somehow, and that all we want to do is go back. This is more the attitude we get in Swamiji's poem and in Swamiji's spiritual attitude also. Swamiji felt a tremendous burden in his life. His life was not an easy life. There's tremendous burden towards his family. He was so torn. I often try to imagine what it was like for this young man, Narendra, probably 20 years old, something like that, barely 20 years old, and his father died, and the whole response, he was the eldest son. He was the only one that was of the age could even get a job. He had his mother, who certainly couldn't work, and brothers and sisters, and they were all at home. Everything fell upon him. So this tremendous burden to support the family, otherwise they could have starved to death even. And on the other hand, this tremendous burden that he knew Swami Krishna was placing the entire responsibility for this future Ramakrishna Vedanta movement on the shoulders of Swamiji. And he knew he couldn't do both fully, that he would have to choose one or the other. Tremendous burden. And then, really, this stranger in a strange land, that was what he had to do in America. How strange everything must have been to him. All of the customs, all of the attitudes of the people. He had a knack, of course, of feeling at home and making people love him wherever he went. But still, so we see this a little different type of attitude in the life of Swami Vivekananda. So it has to do a little bit with also the hollow nature of the world and all of its the so-called treasures of the world and the inability of the world to fully satisfy us. We find this in the first stanza of the poem. This ever running, never reaching, nor even a distant glimpse of shore. Now, there are different ideas that come in here. There's a basic frustration that comes with this idea of Maya. A basic frustration that in so many different ways. We sit for meditation and we're trying to control the mind with the help of that mind. There's something inherently impossible about it. That the very mind that is restless is the one that's trying to make the mind calm and peaceful. That we ourselves are the fox in the chicken coop. Supposed to be guiding it, and at the same time wants to eat all the chickens. So different things that we have that we long for things that will satisfy us, and yet we strive for things that won't. That we're content with all these, Thakur says that on the seashore, that you'll see these little shiny, glittery things. They look like there's something very valuable. They're not valuable, but because of them, we don't dive deep in the ocean and get the gems at the bottom of the ocean. So this Maya has this effect on us, that, and even when we strive for God realization, there's something inherently false and impossible. We talk about having the vision of God. We can't have the vision of God. We keep trying. Why? God is the eternal subject. God can never be objectified. The self can never be objectified, yet we're trying to do that. There's something inherently impossible about all of that. I sometimes think that it's as if somebody told us that try to look at the back of your head. So we turn around and we say, no, now it's in the opposite direction. And then somebody says, turn around faster. So we do it faster. I say, no, not fast enough. No matter how fast it is, the back of our head will always be out of the range of our vision. It's a priori impossible. Or suppose we fall on the ground. Somebody says, lift yourself off the ground. Can we do that? Yes. Then somebody says, now lift yourself up in the air. Can we lift ourselves off of the ground? And no matter how strong we are, it's impossible. These are impossibilities. So sometimes we feel that, yes, I'm trying to see the self, but every time I get close to it, I fall behind as the witness. So there's something inherently impossible about this idea, and this is what Swamiji means. He says, ever running, never reaching. There's something always out of our grasp, and we don't know why. We have the illustration of the musk deer. There's an actual type of creature, not really a deer, some small, I don't know what, large rodent or something like that. It lives in the Himalayan area, and it emits from, of course the legend is from its navel, I know a little bit from its body, this beautiful scent of musk. That's why it's called a musk deer. And the scent is so appealing that this animal runs all over trying to find the source of it, not knowing that it is its own source. So there's ever running, never reaching. We'll never reach it unless we know that we have to simply make the mind still, make the mind quiet, stop this ever running with the mind, let this mind Let that reality just manifest itself for us. Otherwise, this constant running will never reach it that way. So, the more elusive it becomes, this reality, the more this desire to realize it gets stronger. And this realization comes to us at some point. No, I can't realize it through the mind. Only through letting go. Only through some type of renunciation, through some type of grace, through some type of surrender, can we go beyond this type of Maya, take refuge in the Divine Mother. There are some beautiful letters that were written by Swami Atmajnanananda. Swami Atmajnanananda, Holy Mother's disciple. He was a beautiful letter writer and especially songwriter. He wrote so many beautiful songs and poems. In one of his letters he wrote, "He who has created this world in play," and of course we can probably better to say she who has created this world in play is a great joker, as well as an ocean of nectar. An infinite number of souls are running about, suffering from hunger and thirst. Everything is near at hand, but they throw it all away out of greed for imaginary food. What a funny play. Yeah, one of his other songs, he says, Jannavi tire, Trishna kator, Ondho jejon, kuje shorovar. A very, very beautiful line that here we're on the very banks of the Ganges and we're dying of thirst, and yet we're running all around looking for a little pond somewhere to get water from. Ganges is right there. It is right there. So he says, so what a funny play. Once I saw a certain man who had a bad cough. When he smoked tobacco, he would cough and cough to the point of exhaustion. Then he would wait a little and again take another puff from the pipe. At the shock of his cough, my breathing nearly stopped. Then, seeing this play of the divine jester, he doesn't say Divine Mother, of the divine jester, I felt great joy. What an amazing phenomenon this entire universe is. Then in another letter he wrote, after suffering greatly, I say to him, now he's referring to Sri Ramakrishna. So in his mind, he would very often identify Sri Ramakrishna with the Divine Mother and interchangeably, and now to him as Mahamaya. And this is a letter where he's talking about the very famous magician P.C. Sharkar. Because this world is like the magic of the magician. Thakur uses that illustration. So after suffering greatly, I say to him, dear sir, please remove the lid of this pot a little. That means this veil of Maya. He replies, one should lift oneself up by his own self. So quoting from Gita. So this is what I was saying. Yeah, we can do it. We fall on the ground, we can lift ourselves up. But we can't lift ourselves off the ground. That we need the grace for that. We can only do so much, go so far. So he says one should lift oneself up by his own self. Then he says, see what mischief. So he's recognizing that, okay, that's of course true. The first step is that we have to take things in our own hands, do whatever we can to try. But it won't do, it won't get the job done. See what mischief. He has been staging this play for millions of years, and now he says, forget the whole thing. Can anyone do that? He has held us down by the neck and forced us to witness his magic show, and now we are to forget the whole thing. What a cruel joke. A very beautiful letter. So this is also part of this Maya of our mad mother. And what's the purpose of all of this? That we reach that point where we can say, Mother, my play is done. Where we cry to the Mother and say, now take me. I can't do anything, I'm helpless. You yourself have to put down your cooking pot and come and lift me in your arms and carry me the rest of the way. Now, the attitude of Sri Ramakrishna is a little less dramatic than Swamiji. Swamiji had that dramatic streak to him, because he always felt that he was the blissful child of the Divine Mother. So even when he had tremendous anguish, physical pain with his throat cancer, that still he could look upon this world as a play and he could enjoy it. This was a very special attitude that Thakur had. Why? Because he had touched the granny. He had done it. He had removed the veil from the covering from his eyes. He was out of the game. You know, we have this other game in this country, musical chairs, where the trick of the whole thing is that if you start with 10 children playing the game, there'll only be 9 chairs for them. And this is the nature of reality. This is that Maya. This is the frustrating part of it. So they all go around, the music is playing, they all walk around in a circle. As soon as the music stops, they all try to sit in the closest chair. One of them won't be able to do it. That one will be out of the game, then they remove another chair. And you do it until there are 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, until there are only 2 left, and 1 chair. They go around and around and around. The music stops, one sits down, and that one's the winner. Now, Thakur used to say that I was the first one out of the game. So I could simply watch and enjoy the whole thing. So this was, you can say, the secret to the very sweet renunciation that Thakur had. It wasn't that, oh, it's so horrible, I have to get out. He didn't like that attitude. He said, no, I can enjoy the game better now, that I don't have to be a participant in it. I've already scored too many points, he said to Keshav, that the game is over for me. At the same time, he was the perfect player. The actor who remembers he's the actor has that special ability to change things and work things and everything. And Thakur used to say that if someone's playing a game of chess and someone is looking over his shoulder, not playing the game, that the person playing, there'll be tremendous tension and trying to guess what the other person is thinking. The one who's simply watching, he can see both sides. He'll be able to tell what the best move is, better than the one playing the game. The pressure is not there. So Thakur, his idea was not to withdraw from the world, to be the expert player, to remain in the game, but to know that we're not really part of it. So to live in the world, but not be consumed by the world. So this was his main attitude, that we can be not even the unconcerned witness, but the enjoyer of it. That we can sit in the audience and really enjoy the play. We know that someone gets killed in the play, as soon as the play is over, that they'll get up. There'll be a big fight. The 2 of them hate each other in the play. As soon as it's over, they'll take off their costumes. They'll go have lunch together. They'll be best friends. We see this in some of these legal battles that take place. These 2 lawyers, they go at it at each other as if they could kill each other. They hate each other. One is trying to prove falsely that someone is a murderer, and the other is trying to take a murderer and prove that he's perfectly innocent. And then as soon as it's over, they'll go out, they'll be best friends, they'll have lunch together. It won't mean anything. It happens sometimes like that. So his message is that we can remain within this play, but know that it's a play, and at the same time, long to go back. One of Thakur's favorite analogies is that of the maidservant in the rich man's home. And there are 2 elements to this. The one that we generally stress is to live in the world without attachment, without the feeling of ownership. That the maidservant will speak in terms of, this is my house, these are my kids, did you see what my hubby did today? Did you see the beautiful new furniture we bought for our house, like that. But she knows that they don't belong to her. The other element, which is more important here, is that she knows she has her own home in the village. She has her own home in the village. She has her own family there. This is what she knows really belongs to her. This is what is real in her life and what she looks forward to returning to all of the time. So, what do we get out of all of this? If first of all we say that it's fanciful, that I really, not my concept of God, that everything's a big joke, a big play or anything like that. But we can see that there's a certain beauty to this, not necessarily a big joke, but that we shouldn't take it too seriously. That it gives us a new way, a fresh way of looking at some of our Vedantic ideals, especially about the nature of the self. Now, we have a very high philosophical ideas that we have these 5 koshas, that we peel them off one by one. When we get to the self, what is that self? Pure, infinite, absolute consciousness, one with everything. This is a little bit different. This is a little bit like the actor who takes off the costume, and what's left is the actor himself. So it's not that we're stripping ourselves of everything, but we're getting back to the real self, the real person, who is the one who's playing these different roles. So a slightly different image that we get. And we can look upon everything. This is our stage, that we're playing our role, and we want to do it well. We want to do it well. If the role is to be a teacher, or a doctor, or a lawyer, or a carpenter, or a plumber, anything, to be married with children, to be single, to be a monk, this is the role that we're playing. This is the role that we're playing. Even to say, yes, I'm a monk of the Ramakrishna order. There's something true about it, there's something not true about it. This is something temporary. This is something that is superficial, even though it goes to the core of my being. But still, I'm wearing this costume. I have this mask, this persona, that is not the real self. Is just the child of the Divine Mother. The real self is the Atman. It is something beyond even this part that we play. I'd mentioned in other contexts a very nice drama, play that was written by the great French existentialist Jean-Paul Sartre. It was about a very famous actor, his name was Keane. I don't remember the first name or if he just went by Keane. He was so good at throwing himself into a role and becoming one with that role, that whenever he wasn't acting in a particular role, he had no sense of himself as a person. He didn't know who he was. He had nothing. So for us, we don't want to go that far, that we want to have this feeling that I know that I'm playing this role, but who I really am is a child of the Divine Mother. That I have my village, I have my people there, that I want to go back. This is that feeling that we get from this idea of this play. So, this world is our stage, this body is our costume, the personality is our mask, and we get this desire at some point to take off the mask. Don't do it in the pandemic. Keep your mask on. But we remember that no, that my home is in the village, that this belongs to the master of the house. This isn't my house, these aren't my children. We want to play our role very well, but at some point we say, no, I want to be free from all of this. I want to read another beautiful letter from Swami Atmajnanananda. He says, life is nothing but a theater. Don't you see how many charming scenes are visible in each act? Once the painful events have passed, the memories no longer seem painful. It is as if they were also pleasant events. This is a very good way to get through difficult times, to remind ourselves that these will just be memories at some point. A little bit painful, but as time goes by, we can even take some, I won't say enjoyment out of it, but the sting will be gone from it. In this way, the final scene will one day come. After dancing and singing, laughing and weeping, we will have finished our duties and will enter the dressing room. It is very poetic. There, who will we meet? There we will meet Ramakrishna, Mother, Swamiji, and the rest. And remembering all of the thousands and thousands of past plays, we will have a big laugh. So this is this idea of our play being done. There shouldn't be anything melancholy about it. I know that after last week that some may have felt, oh, it was a bit depressing, this idea. I don't look at it that way. I look at it something hopeful, something to look forward to. This idea that what we have to look forward to is a homecoming, returning to the arms of the Divine Mother, a reunion with those who are nearest and dearest to us, the feeling that we've been sent out, to play, and that we're finished with the play and we want to go back. And we'll be able to go back when we can say, like Swamiji said, that Mother, my play is done, that I've had enough of all of this. Now please, I take refuge with you. Please come and save me from all of this. We have the beautiful verse from Gita that Sri Krishna says that this divine Maya, Daivi Maya, this composed of the three gunas, this is very hard to go past. Duratyaya, it's very hard to get past. He says, Mameva ye prapadyante, mayametam tarantite. Only those who take shelter with me, take refuge with me, call on me. Come, Mother, come. That these are the ones who will be saved from this. So I hope that no one will take this in a very melancholy way. To me, it's something very hopeful that we can transcend all of this. Whether it's actual when we depart from this world, or at this very moment, that we can feel that, yes, returning to my own home means returning to my real nature, to take this type of attitude. So I will stop here, and let me close with a chant. Om sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashti dukha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti, Harihi Om Tat Sat. May all beings be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize good things in life, may no one suffer from misery. Om peace, peace, peace be unto all. I thank all of you and pray that everyone will stay well, and a very happy Thanksgiving. Be very careful. Thanksgiving, I know it's difficult, but best to not do too much of traveling and other things, and we will see you next time.